and welcome to Season 4, Episode 5 of the News Desk with me, Chris Stafford, alongside Nancy Gillen, who is, well, very close to Arsenal. We should put it in terms of where your nearest football club is, shouldn't we? Because geographically, that is probably your closest, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, the main stadium, the Emirates, could walk there in 15 minutes. So it's very close, yeah.
Yeah. How are they doing?
The women are doing, they're not doing badly. They're top of the league and through to the next round of the FA Cup. The last game we played was the FA Cup fourth round. But I think just Arsenal had such a great start to the season that I think in comparison, they're not looking quite as dominant as they were. But all things considering, I'm not complaining about being top of the league. I think there was a game against Brighton last week. We went 1-0 down, came back and won 2-1. And your favourite player, Tobin Heath, she got a bit of credit for her halftime team talk. I think she instilled some of that US winning mentality in the players. So obviously had a bit of inspiration there to help Arsenal turn it around. So yeah, it's a bit shaky at the moment, but we're getting the results, the 3 points, which is what matters.
And I saw that she wasn't mentioned in the last game, though. Is she taking a rest? She hasn't played very much, but is she already being rested?
Yeah, I think, well, I don't know this 100%, but it seemed like there were quite a few players who had just returned from injury that weren't in the squad. So I was presuming it was a rest. The team that they played was in the league below. So I think the manager felt confident that he could rest some players who had just come back from injury and still get the result. So probably if it was a team against slightly stronger opposition, you probably would have seen Tobin Heath on the bench at least. But I imagine that's why she wasn't in the squad.
Well, thinking of your another top player for Arsenal, Vivianne Miedema, is the rumour that she's going to France, to Lyon?
Yeah, I think it's PSG and Barca as well. I think all the top European teams she's been linked with. I don't think that's actually out of the question. Obviously I love Arsenal as a club, but they're not quite there, like winning the Champions League. Like, they're not at Barcelona's level. And, we got beaten 4-0 by Barcelona last month. In December. So I think, Miedema's always said she wants to win the Champions League, and she's like 25, kind of entering now the peak of her career. She is one of the best goal scorers in the world. So I can understand why she'd want to go to like one of the really good teams and have a better chance of winning the Champions League. Of course, I hope she stays with Arsenal and helps us win the Champions League. But yeah, it would be interesting to see what happens in the summer, whether she stays or she goes.
Well, we'll have actually much more football news later on in the programme, but we do want to start with the headlines for this week, and that comes from Australia last weekend when we watched Ash Barty, the world's #1, prove why she is actually unbeatable when she beat America's Danielle Collins 6-3, 7-6. What a fantastic final there, Nancy. I mean, but the career highlight for Danielle Collins, who's gone from 20 to number 10 in the WTA rankings. But what was notable and really is a great argument for those naysayers who say women's sports is not watchable. Apparently the viewership for the final, did you see this, was 3.6 million, as opposed to the men's final, 2.1 million. It was the fourth most viewed tennis match in the history of tennis. How about that?
Yeah, I know. I did see that, and it does just show, doesn't it? It's with tennis, it is one of the sports that has the most gender equity, I think that proves that when you do give female and male athletes the same kind of platforms, there's no reason why women's sport can't be more popular among kind of TV audiences. But Ashley Barty is such a talent. I'm not surprised that so many people want to watch her play.
Well, but 1.5 million more viewers than the men's final. So I think we can stick it to those naysayers who say it's not women's sport is not popular. So congratulations to Ash. That was, obviously the crowd was behind her. It was expected because she's world #1, and Danielle Collins until that day was number 20. She was obviously, getting to tremendous form the way she came through the Australian Open. But she already had a belief in her that she could go out there and beat Ash, didn't she? You could tell by the disappointment.
Yeah, I think I think if you've got to that point, then you will have the belief that you can do it, because it's such a hard task to get to a Grand Slam final. You do have to win so many matches on your way there, and she beat Iga Swiatek in the semi-finals, who's a really, even though she's only 20, a really, really good player. And I think you just absolutely have to back yourself to go in and have a bit of an upset. Otherwise, you have literally no chance. And I mean, she was, in the second set, she did look like she was going to turn the match around. Yes. And then Ash Barty just kind of powered back. It was a bit too strong for her. But yeah, she did seem full of confidence. And I mean, we were talking just quickly before the show about her and saying she's a late bloomer. I think she only turned professional when she was 22 and is kind of now she actually had a really, she was very open about this in kind of throughout the tournament. I don't know how you say it, estraditis,
endometriosis.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Which is where your womb lining grows in the wrong places and it gives you like horrific pain during your menstrual cycle. So I think her career was actually massively hampered by that, and she only had surgery in April last year. And then since then, her career has progressed massively. So I think, she will take a lot of confidence from reaching the final. And I think she could do really big things this year. So, I think it's an exciting time for her.
Yes, good for her, and good for her for highlighting that. I mean, not that she suffered from it, but the fact that she spoke about it, because it is actually quite common. All right, we're going to move on to the Spain's Rugby Sevens, because they were in Malaga and Seville the past 2 weeks. And you remember last week, Nancy, the USA actually won the gold medal. It was really, really exciting. They went to Seville on great form, really, obviously, that kind of confidence as well. But sadly, one of our podcast hosts here at With Sports, Elana Meyers, who, of course, co-hosts the Leo's Den podcast alongside Naya Tapper, they both play for USA rugby team. Low tested positive when she got to Seville, so she had to sit that one out. She was pretty miserable, isolated in her hotel room for unable to play, watching her team go through to the bronze medal. They actually played for the bronze medal, but they got beaten there by England, unfortunately, and it was Australia that went on to beat Ireland in the final. And also what was noteworthy is Naya Tapper became the first woman to score 100 tries for the US. That's the first woman ever to score 100 tries. So it was quite a moment for her, and quite a moment for women's rugby history, for sure. So congratulations to Naya for that. As I said, the USA they beat Portugal. That's right. They beat Portugal. They beat England, and they beat Canada in the pool games, and then Spain in the quarterfinals, and lost to Australia in the semis, and then to England in the bronze medal game. So a big win, and then just outside the medals in the second one. So they're home now. I just actually heard from Naya. She's home safely and she's COVID-free, fortunately. And they'll be taking a rest now. I think they have another tournament in April. So we'll keep you updated with news from them. And you'll be able to catch up on with their podcast too. That'll be starting up again here soon. World Cup skiing, that was in Garmisch-Partenkirchen last weekend. The downhill went to the Swiss girls, 1-2. Corrine Suter and Jasmine Fleury, they were back on the podium. And Connie Heuter, the Austrian girl, was third to them in the downhill. And then that, of course, was without Sophia Goggia, Breezy Johnson, who is out. She's actually out from the Olympics. Sophia Goggia is still hoping to make it to the Olympics to defend her title, and that will be on the 15th of February in Beijing. And then in the Super G, in Garmisch. Connie Heuter won that, and Federica Brignoni was second, with Tamara Tippler third. And then in the overall standings, although Michaela Schifrin was not in Garmisch, she still leads the overall standings ahead of Petra Vlhova and Federica Brignoni. And Sofia Goggia still, despite having missed a couple of downhills now, she still leads the downhill standings ahead of Corrine Suter. And Petra Vlhova heads the slalom standings. So the Olympic schedule, which I've posted on our website for anyone who wants to follow the Olympic schedule from Beijing. As far as the skiing is concerned, the giant slalom is on the 7th of February, the slalom on the 9th, the Super G on the 11th, the downhill on the 15th, and then the Alpine combined rounds that up for the women on the 17th. And then they come back to Europe, and it will be interesting to see who carries on in the World Cup season. There's just 4 venues left. Crans-Montana has 4 downhills in February, at the end of February, and then they go to Lensenheide for Super G and a giant slalom, and then to R in Sweden for a giant slalom and a slalom. And the season rounds off in Courchevel-Maribor with 6 downhills, slalom, giant slalom, and Super G. So there's still some races to get points for those that are chasing a crystal globe. So we'll see who does that when we get past the Beijing Olympics. We'll be talking about Beijing in just a moment. And well, we might as well just go straight to the story, but that came out of Beijing yesterday, I think it was. You know, Elana Meyers Taylor, Nancy, who's had such a cracking season so far in World Cup. She actually won the World Cup Championships. She tested positive when she arrived in Beijing with her son and husband, and so she's been isolated. So fingers and toes crossed that she gets tested positive in time. Presumably they are the instant test. I don't know if they do PCRs because of what they're doing over there, but I mean, it's running a bit tight for her. It would be such a tragedy, wouldn't it, if she couldn't test negative in time for the start of the games?
Yeah. I actually, because I when I read that story, I was like, I don't actually know how it does work over there, because I think it was in Japan you had a period, there was just a set period of isolation for the summer games. But so I looked up what happens, and if you test positive at the airport, you have to take an additional test to confirm the result. Even if that one is negative, then you need to take a third one just to double check. If that's positive, then you get moved into an isolation hotel where you do daily PCRs. And then you need to have 2 negative PCR tests at least 24 hours apart and display no symptoms of COVID before you can go back to training and competition. So I'm not 100% sure when her event starts, but at least I suppose the fact that it's like there's not a set period of isolation and you've got the chance of daily PCRs, hopefully means that she can get back out there. She seems to be quite optimistic that she can. So yeah, just keep your fingers crossed, because that is, I think as well, it's just the fact that she's competing in the monobob, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's on the 14th, the monobob. She's got some days of training, obviously, before that. And as well, the bobsled have got days of training before the bobsled, and then the women's bobsled. The two-woman bobsled is not until the 19th.
Yeah, so hopefully that's enough time.
Yeah. But hopefully it is.
Because of the monobob making its debut at Beijing, and she's kind of established herself as the best in that discipline. It would just you'd be gutted, I think, to miss out on it.
Very, very disappointing if she can't make it. Well, hopefully she's got a good period now. She's isolated. Fingers crossed that she can make it in time. But we'll keep you posted if we hear anything by next week's show. That will be the next week's show will be out on the 8th of February. So yeah, she's with a bit of luck and following wind, she should be able to make it, don't you think?
Yeah, I think
isolated.
It seems like it. I mean, over here you stay isolated for like 6 or 7 days. So if she's got 2 weeks, I know she would want to train before, but that hopefully should be okay.
Yeah. All right. We have one more piece of news coming out of Beijing from the IOC. They've been warned against inappropriate Peng Shuai meetings during the Olympic Games. This will not go away, this story, will it?
No. And so this is stemmed from the IOC saying they're going to meet with Peng Shuai during the 2022 Winter Olympics. I think just a quick recap of what happened to Peng Shuai. She made a sexual assault allegation against a former Chinese political leader. It was in November. Kind of just all her posts got deleted and she just kind of disappeared from public view for a period, about a month, which caused quite a lot of uproar in the tennis community and wider sporting world. And then she has since made appearances, but it's kind of believed that these have been relatively controlled, and there's still concerns over her well-being and freedom. So she did have a video call with the IOC. It was towards the end of November, I think, but there was quite a lot of criticism at the IOC because there was no it seems to be in a very controlled environment. There didn't really seem to be much kind of access, transparency over the meeting, especially with the Winter Olympics coming up in Beijing. I think a lot of people felt that IOC were kind of siding with the Chinese. Essentially, now that they've said they're going to meet with her in Beijing, this is kind of coming for more criticism, particularly from Julie Ann Rivers Cotran, who is executive director of the Army of Survivors, which was an organisation formed in response to the Larry Nassar sexual abuse scandal in USA Gymnastics. And she said that it's a terrible idea to meet with her and it's a dangerous idea. It's a highly inappropriate move that fails to consider the effects of trauma and will ultimately be re-traumatizing. To think that Peng Shuai has the right or the ability to speak freely to consent to this request without pressure is misguided at best. And she accuses the IOC of not considering the effects of control around sexual assault, and then also warns that the response to the case from the IOC could set the tone for survivors who may be reluctant to come forward with their own experiences of sexual assault. So it's quite a stark warning for them, and I don't think it's hard to know whether the IOC are being naive in this, in that it's either kind of they are actually siding with the Chinese, or they're trying to, they think they're doing a good thing when actually they're not, which is incredibly naive. So it seems to be that they're being quite misguided in the way they're handling this. Overall, I think a lot of people feel the Winter Olympics as being a bit of a kind of sports washing event for a lot of the human rights abuses that are allegedly happening in China. And I think this kind of just adds to that overall criticism of the IOC and the Games. So it's, a bit of a kind of controversial situation.
And we've heard that a few countries have boycotted it. That is a diplomatic boycott of the Games. So I'm sure there'll be more political stories coming out of these Games. We'll keep you posted here. And all the links, as I mention every week, to the stories that we share with you here, they're on our website at wisports.com with the show notes to this episode. And that includes the Olympic schedule, and it includes the World Cup schedule for skiing and all the standings in the World Cup, that sort of thing. So if you're interested in more detail, then you just follow the links on the website. Now, what else have we got from Beijing, as we're just now a few days away to the start of the Games, Nancy?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of really ticking along nicely, I suppose, in terms of the Games itself. I know a lot of my former colleagues at Inside the Games have arrived there now. I think it's called the closed loop. Yeah, this super controlled environment to not let any kind of, to kind of keep everyone safe from COVID. So all the journalists are arriving and so on. And yeah, it's the opening ceremony on the 4th of February, isn't it? So not too long now.
It's on the 4th. Yep. Yeah, a couple of days. And our friend Peggy Shin arrived at the weekend, and she's been posting photos of the venues, and also of something which is quite novel, Nancy. There's the room service in the hotel she's staying in is a robot. So you don't get a waiter and a tray. You get a robot that goes into the elevator, and she said they're everywhere, up and down the corridors, delivering room service, and she's been highly entertained by them.
Yeah. Is that just, are they just super advanced, or is that a COVID?
Yes. Yeah. I think there's just the advanced technology that they have these robots now in hotels, which is quite cool, I guess. Yeah, you can program them from the kitchen, I guess, to deliver to whatever floor, whatever room. That's quite cool.
Yeah.
All right. So Olympic ceremony the opening ceremony starts on Friday, and then the alpine skiing, they actually start training tomorrow, and the curling have already started. When this goes live on the 2nd, we're recording on the 1st of February, but this goes live on the 2nd, and that's when the curling and the luge, they start training as well. So it is momentarily underway there in Beijing, and we'll be following it with eagle eyes, the pair of us, and bring you updates next week here on the show. Unless you've got anything else on Beijing, Nancy, we'll move to your favourite sport of football.
Yeah, I think I'm ready to move on to some football now.
Why don't we start with the news of the NWSL and WSL making improvements to player rights?
Yeah, so it was quite a significant day today in both the US and over here in England. So the first is the National Women's Soccer League, so the football league in the US, and its Players Association have agreed to their first ever collective bargaining agreement. I think this was running quite closely to I believe NWSL pre-season starts tomorrow, so this went up right to the wire in terms of agreeing this. But there's quite a few interesting points in there. So the minimum salary for NWSL players for this year has been raised to $35,000. That's up from a minimum of $22,000 from 2021. So that's quite a significant boost. Players have also gained 6 months paid mental health leave, 8 weeks of parental leave, and provisions for safe playing fields and medical staff. And then there's also been an increase in retirement fund contributions, life and health insurance, and levels of free housing as well. Interestingly as well, there's a bit about free agency. So my understanding of the draft system isn't the best as a non-American. But I do think I know there's been a bit of controversy about kind of the amount of freedom this gives players when they're kind of drafted to a team they maybe don't want to go to. So the CBA now allows for free agency for players. It's going to start in 2023 for players with a minimum of 6 years playing in the league. And then this will drop to a minimum of 5 years in 2024. So I think you'll have less players eventually kind of tied to the draft system. And then over in the WSL, this has kind of been so there was actually a debate in Parliament over here at the end of last week, which was kind of triggered by the near liquidation of Coventry United, which we discussed on this show. They were saved very last minute, but they basically were about to go bust. And so the MPs for Coventry had started this debate, and there was a discussion about the prize money in the FA Cup. The fact the women's football being on TV, and one of the MPs also announced that the WSL and Women's Championship players are also going to get improved maternity cover. So the FA have now confirmed that. So under the new policy, a player going on maternity leave will be paid 100% of her weekly wage, as well as any other remuneration and benefits for the first 14 weeks before dropping to the statutory rate. This is a massive improvement from what it was before, because it used to be the current minimum was statutory rate, but that was only applied to players who had been employed by their club for a minimum of 26 weeks. So if you'd moved to a new club, you would have had no maternity cover whatsoever. There's also going to be new long-term sickness pay that mirrors the men's game. and also new policies in place for if a player has their contract terminated because of injury. So a club now must give a player a 12 months notice as opposed to the 3 months notice that was in place, was currently in place. So I think across both leagues, that's just a lot more security, I think, and things, and just makes it easier for players to, go and start families and still be confident that they have their jobs. And I think the injury thing is a big thing as well, because in the past it used to be that you do your ACL and you have no guarantee of being able to play again for your team. So it's kind of just bringing the game up to the standard where it should be, which is very good news.
Very encouraging news indeed. Yeah, we love that story. Now, the next one, it comes from one of your favourite players, I think, Lucy Bronze, who plays for England. She's commented on the FA Cup prize money disparity. So we make some advances in one direction, but this doesn't look like she's very happy with this. Yeah, well, I think it's actually quite interesting because she did this column for Give Me Sport Women at the weekend, and it actually came as the FA announced an increase in the prize money, but the details for that haven't been confirmed yet. And I think a lot of people aren't going to be happy until it's kind of there's true equality there. As yet, we don't know if that is going to be the case, so we'll have to see. But as with Lucy Bronze commenting on the current situation, which is, pretty appalling. For anyone that doesn't know, it's the women's FA Cup winners get 1.2% of the earnings that the men's winners does. And, the whole kind of commercial revenue that the men's, football brings in doesn't really apply here, or the maths doesn't really add up because, you have the TV audience for the women's FA Cup was 14% of for the men's final. So, 1.4 and 14%, that doesn't add up. And the crowds, for the final, for the women's final, was around 45,000. There was about 80,000 at the men's. So it's, it basically is saying that the FA Cup prize money that the women receive should not be that low. It maybe shouldn't be completely equal. And Lucy Bronze says here that she understands why it's not fully equal, but to have it at kind of less than 2% is outrageous. She also makes the point that the Women's FA Cup now has a new sponsor. Around 40,000 people come to Wembley every year to watch the final. They're buying tickets and showing up to it. And that just shows that women's football has grown significantly. But this growth hasn't been reflected in the FA Cup prize money. So I think quite big words from one of the bigger players in women's football. And like I said, the FA they have now announced that they will increase prize money, but we just don't know how much to yet and whether it's going to appease this kind of inequality that's happening at the moment. Okay, keep us posted, won't you?
Yeah, of course. As soon as I find out.
All right. Yeah. All right, great. I've got one football story from over here. The USWNT star goalkeeper Hope Solo, you remember, Nancy, she had an illustrious career. She was inducted into the US Soccer Hall of Fame alongside her teammate Shannon Box, as well as the 1991 Women's Cup winner Linda Hamilton. And Solo is one of the most accomplished players in the USWNT history, winning Olympic gold in 2008 and 2012 and the World Cup in 2015. And Shannon's Box's induction, that was considered more of a home run because she's a 3-time Olympic gold medalist and World Cup champion whose career with the USWNT spanned 4 World Cups. So 3 new inductees there to the US Soccer Hall of Fame.
Very nice. Right. Yeah, that's Hope Solo's one of the probably my most when I was growing up, one of the most famous women's football players, so that's very well deserved. There you go. A cricket story, some international cricket there for anyone who does follow cricket. And I know there are, but we do have a team over here. We may not be one of the Commonwealth countries, but we do have a cricket team. But this is about the Women's Ashes, isn't it, Nancy? An update from there, because England went down to Australia to play a series of one-day internationals, T20s, and one test game. But the weather got the better of them for a couple of those games, didn't it? Yeah, so I think a few of them have been the rain has definitely affected play a bit, which is a bit of a shame. I haven't been able to watch much of this because of the time difference, but I heard the one-off test was very, very dramatic. And England looked set to be winning, but collapsed in the final hour and then held on for a draw. So they were chasing a record 257, but then lost 6 wickets for just 26 runs. So yeah, the 9th wicket fell with 13 balls to go, and then England had to decide whether to try to score the remaining 13 runs or play defensively and try to survive for a draw, which is what they did. So they drew the test match. And yeah, so it's still, I mean, they look like they're still kind of really, really up against it. There's 3 one-day internationals left. Australia only need to win 1, basically, to win overall. So it's a very, very tough test for them. Pardon the pun.
Yes.
the next few weeks.
It is, but a big shout out to England captain Heather Knight, though. Don't forget, she scored an unbeaten, was it 169?
Yeah, I think that's
just
right,
from memory.
yeah.
I think because I was following it on my app, as I do. I follow the ICC. I have the ICC app, and I think it was 169. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think you are right. Yeah, it was very, very impressive.
Very, very impressive. She carried her bat, as we say. She was unbeaten in that. So, well, good luck to England, because they are, as you say, up against it in that. But it is a very prestigious competition. It's a shame they only have 1 test match, because so much focus is now on the short format for so many different sports, not least of all in cricket, with one-day internationals and T20s dominating the sport. But they've got a whole selection of competitions down there. So hopefully they can turn things around, because it's always hard against the home crowd too, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's kind of, as well, I suppose, such a foreboding, formidable is the word I want, formidable place to go as well. So yeah, it is tough.
All right, one final story before we leave you this week, and that's about the Commonwealth Games, which is scheduled for Birmingham in this 2022. That was always 2022, wasn't it? That it was going to be in the Commonwealth Games, right? The cycle of the Commonwealth Games. That didn't get bumped because of COVID, but they are in Birmingham, England for that this July, isn't it? Yeah,
that is right. It didn't get moved, but it had basically everything moved around it. So it's now got the Euros and World Athletics Championships, I think, in the weeks leading up to it, which is, a busy schedule. But so the netball tournament, which is taking place at the Games, that's basically had the lineup completed now. So Uganda, Scotland, Wales, Trinidad and Tobago, Northern Ireland and Barbados are the 6 final teams to be confirmed to the 12-team lineup. So that is according to the world rankings. England had already qualified as host nation, and then Australia, world champions New Zealand, Jamaica, South Africa and Malawi. What I find quite interesting there is that there's the 4 home nations are all competing, which should make of it. There's always a bit of rivalry between the home nations, so that's quite an interesting little mini battle within the tournament, I think.
Yes, definitely. Local derby.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that all happens in July in Birmingham, England. And that wraps it up for this week, doesn't it, Nancy? Have you got anything else to add?
I don't know. It's, just looking forward to some winter sports. Not often that I do watch winter sports. So it's, going to be exciting to be catching up every day with what's happened over in China. So, excited for that.
Yeah, we'll be, of course, tweeting about it tweeting about it and posting about it on our social media. So follow us at Wisp Sports on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, all the usual. And post your comments and questions and any suggestions you may have. We always love to hear from you. And you can follow Nancy at GiveMeSportWomen.com. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct. And our social media handle is Give Me Sport W, and then my personal social media, my Twitter is Nancy_Gillen, and my Instagram is Nancy_Gillen_sport.